And welcome to another episode of Tuesdays with Tally. This is episode number 10, and I'm your host, Brian Tally. The mission and the goal of this podcast is to bring an engaging conversation that will add value to the lives of everyday people. We will inspire, encourage, educate, and tell the stories of some of America's finest men and women in an effort to motivate you to live your life to its fullest potential. Be sure to follow us on social media and on Spotify. The online information and handles are all located on the scrolling ticker at the bottom portion of your screen. Be sure to like and share the program as well. Folks, we have a very special guest joining us on today's program. But first, a word from our local sponsor. Are you looking for a reliable contractor who stands by his work and who is on time and on budget? Then look no further than Patriot Home Services. Patriot Home Services is located in the Woodlands, Texas, and offers a wide array of services. Cody Dawson, the owner, is a hands-on contractor who will follow through on your project and will leave you having perhaps the best contracting experience you've ever had. Whether you need home additions, remodels, outdoor patios and kitchens, flooring, painting, and much more, call Patriot Home Services today, 720-745-2568, or visit them on Facebook at Patriot Home Services TX, serving the greater Houston area. Today, we are honored to be joined by Chris Albert Palmitessa. Chris is a veteran of the United States Marine Corps, a businessman, a stand-up comedian, and the host of the Warrior Soul podcast.
What's up, bro?
Chris, welcome to the program. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, man. I'm out here in Florida, sitting in the heat, smoking a cigar, but it's a beautiful day out, and I'm looking forward to talking to you, my friend.
Man, I tell you what, man, you are living the American dream. You're in Florida. You've got a cigar fired up. It's Saturday afternoon. Hey, what better way to spend a Saturday, right?
No, exactly, man. I love it out here. I've been in Florida for about 2 years. Moved out here from California, much like you moved out to Texas from California, and things have been great for me down here, man. Like so much better. I don't want to say I hate like trash talking California because there's a lot of good people in California too, and you know that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There's just been so much more opportunity out here for me than there was back there. So
we're in the same boat, and I feel the same way. There's a lot of great people out in California, but I think I'm better. I'm a better fit here in Texas, as you are probably a better fit for you and your life and where you're going. The direction that you're headed is all the way up and not back, and that is Florida. Florida has been good to you. Texas has been good to me. And, you are, I would describe you as the most interesting man. You are a very interesting guy. You've done a lot in your life. You've overcome so much, and you continue to just battle on. Can you let our listeners know a little bit about who you are and where you grew up?
Yeah, so this is actually a really interesting story. I grew up in Norwalk, Connecticut, had a single mom. In Fairfield County, Connecticut, a lot of people know this. It's the richest county or district in the country. Like, makes Beverly Hills look like white trash, like friggin'. But when you're not rich and you're growing up there and you got a single mom who's working 3 jobs, it's not like what the stereotypes are. And I never knew my dad growing up at all. Had no idea who the hell he could have been. I had a sister, which was weird too, because like I had no recollection of any man ever being there or anything like that. And I didn't find out until I was 40 years old that I was actually a sperm donor baby. I found it out through 23andMe, and that was a really crazy thing. My mom had had left her husband, who was abusive, a few years before I was born, but she still really wanted a baby. And back in the 1970s, women weren't supposed to have children on their own. And so she paid a doctor off, and he got her sperm donated from a medical student, and that's how I came about. And
Wow.
like I said, I didn't find this out until I was 40 years old. I literally had a sister pop up on 23andMe that I'd never met. That's how I found that out. But growing up like that was weird because, I didn't have any male influences in my life. I had a grandfather who took me fishing and taught me a few things, but I didn't have like a man there to teach me anything. So I was really kind of seeking that my whole life. And I think that's what led me to a lot of the different adventures that I've had, like joining the Marine Corps, getting into some of the things I've gotten into, like bodybuilding and things like that, getting into business late in life. But pursuing more adventure rather than like monetary gain, I'd say is what my life has been so far.
It's very interesting that you touched on a few of those topics about, growing up without a father, and really having that father figure in your life and having a single mom working those 3 jobs. I grew up the same exact way as you, Chris. And just yesterday, we had Sergeant Major James Cabarrus on the program, and we touched on just that. A lot of folks that join the Marine Corps come from families where they don't have, that male influence in their life. And, these young Marines, recruits go into the Marine Corps looking for mentorship, looking for, that leader that can help guide them through their, late teen years and into early adulthood. So that's very, that's very unique that, for you to say that on back-to-back programs. It kind of highlights what we were talking about yesterday.
I think it's the truth, man. Like a lot of us, I got a little bit of it in high school football and wrestling. I had a really great wrestling coach, who kind of pushed me toward the right path. But the Marine Corps was really the first time in my life that I had other men kind of, watching over me and like friggin' showing me where to go, what to do, how to act, because I was kind of wild too. I was a crazy little kid. So, it was a good primer into adulthood for me. And it helped me out a lot. A lot of people have a tough time in the Marine Corps. Marine Corps has given me a whole heck of a lot. I wasn't that great of a Marine, but I got to learn a whole bunch of really awesome things. I got to travel the world. I got to learn about leadership and the VA has done great for me in helping me to buy my first home and get me a foot in the door for that. So that's been awesome.
And that's, great to hear that, things are, looking good, for you. And, you've, really have began to show phenomenal signs of perseverance and resilience from a lot of the stuff that you have been through to get to the point where you're at today. And we will touch on that here, just a little bit here in the program. But first, you are a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. And, I've got a question. Can you tell our listeners a little bit how it was like living that experience of being a Marine?
Yeah. So, I joined the Marine Corps back in the 1990s. So I joined in 1999, which is it was, I don't think people remember. It was and you were back in that generation too, right? Like a little bit earlier than me, I think.
Yeah.
It's a very different experience than I think what people went through going in post 9/11. We went through boot camp and things like that. It was super intense. It was, but the prospect of going to war, this was the Clinton years. You know what I mean? There are people who are talking, oh, we're going to go to war with China someday and things like that. But like, we didn't actually know that, like, nobody saw 9/11 coming ever. Right. And so I was in during 9/11 and it was like everything changed on a dime. We were doing like peacekeeping training and things like that. I went to Norway and we did this whole massive operation with NATO. It was peacekeeping and this and that. And then as soon as 9/11 happened, everything switched to urban combat and offensive maneuvers and things like that. Yep. And it switched on a freaking dime. And so seeing that happen was crazy to me. The other crazy thing that I started to realize as we started getting deployed is that how small the Marine Corps is compared to the other services. Like the Army is like 30 times the size of the Marine Corps, and the capabilities that they can do versus what we can do. We have awesome capabilities in the Marine Corps. I love the Marine Corps and everything like that. But we don't have that like heavy lifting capacity that the Army has and things like that. So I started to recognize that. I'll be honest with you. When I was in with 9/11 happening, we were super fired up. I wasn't a big fan of the Iraq War at all. I really wasn't. I ended up going to Iraq, but didn't quite see the whole point in that. I was very much in favor of getting the Taliban, but I didn't see where Iraqis and Saddam Hussein came into the equation. It pissed me off a lot because, my deployment was fairly easy, but my friends went back after I got out, and I lost friends there in Fallujah. It sucks. You know what I mean? To think that our generation of veterans, in a lot of ways, we got hoodwinked by a bunch of politicians who were fucking, just trying to get money through government contracts. And that's my opinion. I know a lot of people have other opinions on it, but I have deep distrust of the government because of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that agree with you on that, and sometimes it takes a few years to go by for you to look back and look at history and say, man, something we got big problems in little China here, and and something is not quite passing the smell test, if you will.
Right.
But no, I totally agree with everything that you said there. And it is unfortunate, but at some point, enough has got to be enough. And, hopefully we can stop sending our children, our young men and women to war, to fight these endless wars. And really at the end of the day, the wars, if you're going to go spend 20 years in a war and you're going to pull out like you did in Afghanistan, don't even start if that's how you're going to end it. Because that was absolute insanity. And, talk about dereliction of duty and I don't even have the words for it, but that's another topic. And I don't even want to talk about that right now.
I'll get on a whole friggin'
that's going to just fire me up. And this is about you. This is about Chris.
And to come off of that, so what I'd say is this, I deployed to Iraq in 2003. Like I said, I had a fairly easy deployment. But at the same time, I was like, I was kind of like looking at what was going on out there. And I was like, it's probably time for me to get out after this. So I ended up getting out. And I spent kind of 10 years just being a bohemian. I mean, I went to school, did bachelor's, master's, PhD. I had at one time dreams of, going into the State Department and doing some other things for the U.S. government, which is why I ended up going to grad school and getting my PhD. But it was that thing in the back of my mind that was saying, what are these wars about? And why are we doing this? That kind of kept me from moving forward with that. So I had this super crazy identity crisis, because on the one hand, I was in a graduate school in California where people were telling me that Marxism was the way and that friggin', the U.S. was evil. On the other hand, I didn't quite feel like these wars in Iraq were right. And so, and I didn't quite mesh with those Marxists or anything like that were in the program. And I didn't want to be an academic and have to deal with that for the rest of my life. So I went through like a 4-year PhD program, got all the way to the end, and I said, I don't want to be a professor. So I went into business. And that's when I decided to go, and I was doing personal training on the side while I was in school, and I decided to open up my own gym in Long Beach, California, along with a friend, and that was called Metroflex Gym Long Beach. And a lot of really, that gym actually is still very famous today.
Oh yeah.
A lot of pretty famous people came out of there, like CT Fletcher, Mike Rashid. I was doing nutrition coaching for CT. I was doing what's it called? I was training some professional bodybuilders. I was competing in bodybuilding myself. It was a tough life though. I was living off of like $500 a month, at the time. And I made the genius decision of getting married. And the wife wasn't too happy about everything, and we were fighting, and she really wasn't supportive of what I was doing. So ended up getting a divorce. I ended up having to sell all my shares of the gym for absolutely nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean nothing. And I was left with nothing. So I was living out of my car in California for about 6 months, and cruising on friends' couches. I had some dear friends who helped me out at that point, and slowly had to pull myself back up on my bootstraps. Though I didn't own the gym anymore, they still let me train out of there, and I started my own online training business, and kind of slowly pulled myself up by my bootstraps, and began getting clients from all over the world, and got some money racked up, and got out of my car and rented a room, and then eventually was in a much better place than I was. And it was at that point I started kind of looking around and opening my eyes to what was going on in the veteran community, because I was so wrapped up in this bodybuilding thing. I wasn't like paying attention, and I was hearing about all the suicide rates and things like that. And I had just been through some really tough times. Like, when you're going through that kind of financial crisis and things like that, you're questioning your manhood. You're going through all kinds of shit.
Absolutely.
And so, but I was like, maybe I can help people in another way, not just helping them get abs and biceps, but maybe I can put something out there and that's how Warrior Soul started. That's when I started my own podcast, and started putting word out there, which was basically just me ranting into a microphone for an hour. I didn't know shit about what I was doing. So.
Well, the Warrior Soul podcast is very successful, and I'm a big fan too. I've listened to several shows. You've had some very engaging, intriguing, interesting guests on there, and it's raw, and it's real, and that's what I like most about it. And you are, the perfect fit for something like that. To really pull the most out of people. Chris, so you would say it was, safe to say you went from being a Marine to homeless for some time in your life, living out of your car.
Yeah.
What was that like? Manhood questioned and all that stuff. At what point, when you were living out of your car for 6 months, did you say enough is enough here? And what was the next? Like, what happened next? What got you out of your car and then into that room that you were going to be renting?
I'm going to be completely honest with you. So yes, I was living out of my car. It was the most liberating experience of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I mean that, like, and here's the thing, like, I wasn't like homeless like you see a lot of other guys homeless, like who are addicted to crack or like heroin and things like that. Those guys have no options. I had options, right? I could walk into a gym and take a shower. You know what I mean? I could go sit in Starbucks, get on the internet and forget. So that's not like homeless without options. There's people out there who are homeless out, but I was dead broke and I had nothing. Right? I had no resources. I didn't have family out in California. I had nobody to fall back on. I was hanging on. Like, I had like maybe $100 to my name, right? Living in Los Angeles County, right? So that was that was freaking hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I will say this, the lead up to it was the worst part, right? So like as I was going through like the process of like getting to the point where me and my wife were splitting up, as I was getting to the process of like, you know, not being able to afford anything, the stress of that was nearly killing me because I have ulcerative colitis too. And I was going through a flare up at the time and I was very sick. But the night, I remember the first night where I had truly had nothing and I was living out of my car and all I had were me, like garbage bags full of clothes and my dog. And I was like, this, I remember feeling like this is the freest I've ever felt in my life, right? Because I could go anywhere from here. Like I could go anywhere from this point where I'm at because I've truly lost almost everything. The only thing I had was the dog, right? I needed to make sure she got to eat, right? And then try to get a bite to eat for myself. But like I truly like felt very free. What got me going and what got me out of there, like I said, I had some really good friends who helped me out a bit. I had a friend, Mike Rashid. He's a very famous fitness model these days. But he gave me a computer and he said, "Look, you know, you're really great at doing the nutrition plans. Why don't you start, you know, putting YouTube videos together? Or why don't you start trying to get your own clientele online?" And so he's the one who gave me the idea and he gave me a computer and friggin' that's how I literally started my online training business. And then I met a girl, my current girlfriend who I've been with for over 10 years. And I wanted to have a place where I could, you know, bring her to without having shame or anything like that. She's a girl, she's from 29 Palms actually, believe it or not. But you know, and that kind of drove me to want to get a rented room. And the lady whose house I rented a room out of, she was extremely nice. Her name's Lucky. She's a really awesome lady. She lived right down the street from the gym, and friggin' she gave me a room for $250 a month in LA. You know, which was fucking, it was great, man. And so I was able to really pull myself together in that process.
Sometimes all you need is a little bit, a new beginning, somebody to care enough about you to say, "Hey, look, there's a better way. I'm going to help you. I'm going to be here to pick you up. We're going to get you a computer. This is some ideas of what you can do to begin to get your life back, to be that contributor to society once again, and getting that new sense of purpose and that and getting that identification, right? And getting that reinvention and reclassifying who Chris Albert is. And you know, it's special to have friends like that care enough about you, that see, hey, look, I want to be there when my friend falls down. You know, I want to be a cheerleader. You know, I want to help this guy as much as I can, but still, he's going to need to put the work in and figure it out. And, you know, and I know you've done that here down the road, you know, years down the road, but I know you have battled some serious health issues in your life. And, you know, and you have overcome so many obstacles and challenges that, you know, that many people would give up, you know, through a lot of these challenges and obstacles that you have been through. And, you know, and through it all, you've managed to come out on top. I have been watching you for years, and, you know, it's truly inspiring. From the outside looking in, can you explain how you dealt with these health issues? And was there ever a time for you to look in the mirror and say, "Hey, look, I'm done. I don't have anything left to give"?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What I'd say is this: I've suffered from ulcerative colitis, as I mentioned before. That disease it's taken everything from me. So after I went through all that, you know, I had a bodybuilding career. I was, you know, doing pretty well with that. I was moving forward, but my body really couldn't handle the amount of protein that I was putting into it. And I started going to these flare-ups. And when you're having a flare-up with ulcerative colitis, I don't want to get too graphic on the podcast, but basically your immune system is attacking your intestinal tract. And then you're running to the bathroom with bloody diarrhea, 30 to 50 times a day. And I went from, I was around 220 pounds. So right around the time I met you, I was between 148 and 160 pounds. And very emaciated, and it was really hard to sell personal training when you look like that, right? So I had to really take a deep look at who I was, what my identity was. I had to stop bodybuilding. And that was a huge part of my life for 10 years. That was my identity. I'd say it was more of my identity than the Marine Corps was. It encompassed everything that I'd put so much work I'd put into it. And I had to stop, and I had to go through like a real crisis time period to say, okay, this is not me anymore. What is the real me? What am I going to do now?
Right.
And so, and I'll say this, about 3 years ago, I was ready to give up. I was ready to say, you know what, my girl, she needs to go find somebody else. She needs to find a better man than me, because I'm not going to be able to provide for her. And I was literally ready to like move off the grid, where I would never, and I don't want to, I know suicide's a huge problem in our community, but that's not in my mind. It's never been in my mind. It's just not who I am. I'm actually a pretty religious person, and I believe God puts us through things for a purpose. But, I was about to move off the grid and go where people couldn't find me. And it was a tough time. And right about that time period was when an old friend of mine that I'd known back when I was doing my graduate school, I was his academic advisor. He'd gone on to great success, and he'd been an investment banker, and he had this company, a manufacturing company in Florida, and he was doing rock climbing. He asked me for a fitness program, and I sold him one. But we got on a Zoom call, and he saw my face, and he was like, hey, what's going on with you? And I kind of told him, I was like, look, man, I broke down to him, and he's like, hey, why don't you come work for me part-time for a little bit? And then when you get on your feet, we'll take care of it, And so he gave me a job part-time sales, selling this product that our company makes, and did pretty well with that. And the pandemic started happening, and during the pandemic, they had to shut down retail operations. So they had to figure out a way to sell online. So I had learned a whole lot of online marketing, and I made them a bunch of money through online marketing during the pandemic. And they asked me to come on board as a full-time director of sales and marketing. And so I did that. And then they moved me out to Florida from California. And that's how I got out here. And, about 6 months into that, a crisis kind of happened. And then there was opportunity in that crisis. And I ended up moving from my position as director of sales and marketing and became the general manager of the whole company, which is an insane story in and of itself, because I'd never been in manufacturing at all, and I kind of had to drink from a fire hose to learn all this. So I'm now in charge of a pretty decent sized company out here in Florida. We make boating product, and it's been awesome.
Incredible. Growing up without that father, joining the Marine Corps, getting out of the Marine Corps, ending up homeless. However, you were homeless, but you still had, a car, and like you had said, you were homeless with options, but still, nonetheless, you did not have a bed and somewhere to lay your head on a pillow at night. All the way up to where you're at now, as a leader of a company. That in itself is truly remarkable, but your story, it doesn't stop there. And it doesn't end there. Um, Look, this is going to be the fun phase. Now, we all know Marines are silly. And, at times the dark humor spills out of us and it becomes an utter shit show of comedy. And we all know that from our times in the field, barracks, whatever it may be. And I can name one dear friend of mine. I'm probably the funniest guy I know, and that's Jeb Billmeyer, the old Jebster. And this guy's got more stories than probably any book that I could ever imagine that has stories in it, besides my buddy's book, Born in a Bar, which is another great read. This guy is an absolute gem. And, especially if you're having a bad day, call Jeb and he'll make you laugh, and it's therapeutic and it's medicine. It seems as if laughter is a great way to let go a little and to relax and really share some laughs with people instead of always being at each other's throat in today's climate in our country. What has comedy done for you? And again, here you are now. You've gotten all these, you've reinvented yourself so many times, and you're like, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do that, and I'm not going to do that. Even though I almost gave up here, I didn't give up, and I kept moving forward. And one opportunity rode into another opportunity, into another opportunity. And now you are finding yourself sharing the stories of some of America's funniest men and women at the IMPROV. At the IMPROV. Okay. Look, it's given me goosebumps to just know that my good buddy has been through so much, and I've been cheering for you from afar. I want to see you do well. I see you on the stage of the IMPROV, and I'm like, I'm proud of that guy. I know what he's been through, and he deserves it. He deserves to be happy, and he deserves to be heard. Tell me what it's like to be a stand-up comedian.
Well, here's what I'll say. Like I was going through all this transition, right? And it went from like having like, my ability to express myself, like I was podcasting and all this stuff like that, going to running a very, very, awesome business, but bland business. When you're in manufacturing, you're dealing with numbers, you're dealing with things like that. And I was kind of screaming for opportunity to express myself. And one day, I took my girl out, and we were sitting at a kava bar. I don't know if you're familiar with kava bars at all, but they're like, they're non-alcoholic bars. They're throughout Florida. They sell kava, which is a root that makes people very mellow. And people hang out at that. It's pretty cool. But there was a comedy show going on at this kava bar. And we were sitting there and we were watching the comedians. And, the whole time I was sitting there, I'm like, I can do this, And at the end of it, they said, hey, there's an open mic going on after the show. If anybody wants to try this, just come on up and let us know, and we'll put you on the mic. So I hadn't prepared anything or anything like that, but I just got up and did it, and I had one joke.
Yes.
Yeah. And people laughed, and at that point, that very point there, I got hooked. I started searching for open mics, and what I figured out was that South Florida, the Miami, Fort Lauderdale area where I live, is one of the best areas in the country to do comedy, because you could literally do it every night here if you want. So I took a dive and literally started doing it, 3, 4, 5 times a week. And, it's been awesome. The community here has been great. The comedians are very cool. I've got some really good friends here who give me a whole lot of tips. But what is it like to be a stand-up comic? It's like a roller coaster ride, because, some days you're doing it and the real comedy is done in like bars, like little dive bars where people are looking at you like, who the hell is this guy and why is he on stage? And I didn't come here to learn comedy. But if you can get those people to laugh, it's perfect. It's awesome. Being on stage at like the IMPROV, people go there, they pay to laugh, right? They're paying to laugh. So while it's a huge adrenaline rush and it's a great drug, it's so much easier doing it there in front of. It's actually way easier to do it in front of a large crowd of people who want to see comedy than it is to do it in front of, you know, three people who you know are drunk out of their minds and don't know why you're there. So like, so that's been awesome. I enjoy the creative part of it, you know, the writing, the cerebral part of it, trying to figure out what's going to make people laugh. I really love being on stage. I'm learning so much about, you know, human psychology, and I'm meeting some really great people. And to be honest with you, I think it's like one of the last venues where people from all sides of politics can kind of get together. Because I've got friends in comedy who, you know, they're BLM supporters and things like that, and that's awesome. You know what I mean? And then I've got friends who are really super conservative, you know, and that's awesome too. And then I've got friends who are super religious and super people who are not, you know, atheists, and yet we all come together, we put on shows, and that's awesome. You know, that's America. And when we all get the opportunity to laugh and friggin', you know, have a good time, you know, that's what I think we're missing from society right now.
Correct. Yeah. You know, I think Chris Ledoux said it best. We have a lot more in common with people than we think. If you were to just sit down with them and have a conversation, that's where social media has really ruined a lot of those types of relationships.
Right.
Being in front of somebody is much different than, you know, keyboard warriors. Okay. And, you know, I think what you said is, you know, it's true. Another thing that jumped out at me, Chris, is that you were searching for opportunities to express yourself. You know, you've got, you know, like you went somewhere, you said, I can do that. But once it was put on your heart that you could do that, you jumped right in and you were figuring it out as you go. And in a very short time, this has led you to be invited to tons of shows. I mean, you're posting all the time. You're here, you're there, you're with this guy, you're, you know, it's truly inspiring. The amount of hats you wear now, you know, with one job and another job, and your health, and, you know, keeping up with the comedy, you know, and time management, and having time for your girlfriend, and you know, and having time for yourself. You work out every single day. You know, do you have any work-life balance? You know, how do you, you know, get through? Like, what's an average day look like for Chris?
Oh man, so I am up at, you know, 4:30, 5 a.m. I'll hit the gym in the morning, and then I get back, I shower, I head up to the factory. Once I get there, I take a walk around the factory floor, just make sure everything's in order. And then when I get up to my office, I spend about 20 minutes on day prep, you know, just going through my gratitude, thinking about what I'm grateful for, you know, that kind of stuff, and kind of planning out what I'm going to do. Then I'll spend about 30 minutes writing, you know, trying to think of different things I want to, you know, do on stage. Then I'll get into my emails for work. I need about an hour before I like jump into work, and then I'll get into phone calls, business phone calls, and things like that. And then from there, I'm reaching out to my sales reps, making sure that they're getting their numbers in and things like that. And then I'll spend about an hour in the afternoon just kind of going through some of my other things. I've got a bunch of real estate investments I'm working on right now, trying to do some rehab to some houses we bought, and touching base there. And then once work's done, I am doing one of two things. I'm either heading to jiu-jitsu, or I am heading to an open mic, and doing an open mic and doing some comedy. And if I'm not doing that, I'm heading home and I'm making dinner for my girl, and spending time with her. One of the things I've figured out is that sometimes I have to take a rest, and I have to force myself to take a rest because I've burned myself out a lot before in the past. And there's got to be days where you're not doing nothing. You know what I mean? There's got to be days where if you've been burning the candle at both ends, you got to spend some time, and you got a woman, you got to spend some time with your woman. You've got to, and you got to talk with her. You got to see where her head's at. You got to see what her dreams are, what her goals are. And that's something that I've really learned over the last few years, because it's easy to get wrapped up in yourself, but if you've got somebody you're in a relationship with, you really want to be thinking about them as well, and you really want to be thinking about what you could do for them, and how you could help them accomplish their dreams and goals too.
Yeah, that's some very good advice. I've been married 24 years, and we've got a great relationship, and that's how we roll. We support each other. We lean on each other. We're there when we fall. We're there when, the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifference. But at the end of the day, the love is there. And it shows, the bright, shining example of our children, and everything else that, we do on a day-to-day basis. It's always family first. Describe a rest day for somebody that, is up at 4:30 every day and runs until, late in the night. And, so I know your sleep is limited. So when you do decide to rest, what does a rest day look like?
Like this. I mean, today was a kind of a rest day for me. I woke up I slept in till 8, got up, had a cup of coffee. I went to a jiu-jitsu open mat. I'm getting things organized around the house. And then, sitting here having a conversation with an old friend, getting on phone calls with old friends. After this, I'm going to be talking with my buddy Norm and kind of sitting down with him and talking to him about his life. And then, if my girl's working today, but if she were home, we'd probably be going out to do something, like hitting the beach or maybe going out to find some good food. I love food. There's some great eating down here in Florida, and I love cigars. Cigars are a big passion of mine. The reason I love them is because of everything that goes into making them. These are all handmade. They're premium, meaning there was a human being out there who actually put this together with their hands. And the whole cigar is if you're familiar with master blenders, that blender had a concept in his mind of the types of tobaccos he was going to put into it to give the smoker the experience. I know a lot of people would be like, well, why is this guy's into fitness and why is he into cigars? And, because I think you can't just be stoic, right? You've got to be Epicurean as well. They're two facets of life. So,
And again, guys, the most interesting man, Chris, you are the man, and again, man, I'm so proud of you. And like I said, we've known each other for a while. And I
proud of you too, man. You've done so much, and the Tally Bill, you're a fighter, man. And I love that, and there's a lot of people in this community who I admire. You're one of them. Scott Using and everything he's done and how he's been pushing. He's another one. My friend Andrew Marr, who I've talked to you about before with the Warrior Angels Foundation and the things he's doing to get better treatments for veterans with traumatic brain injury and to get psychedelic medicines to the forefront. I think, there's a lot of us in this community who are doing a really great work. And I'm just a small person compared to a lot of people, including you. So,
well, that's not true. You have really climbed the ladder of success, and many people have noticed this transitional point in your, your life of, just completely perseverance and resilience and strength through determination and fighting through health issues that you still fight through every day. I mean, this is not over for you. And every day you push yourself to limits that most people won't push themselves in their life, jujitsu and I've seen you work out, and folks, these are not easy workouts here. This guy definitely grinds every single day. Now, your next show, when and where can people come check you out live in Florida?
Well, I'm going to be this Monday. What's today's date? Today is Monday, August 22nd. I'll be down in Cutler Bay at the Sandbar. I'm actually featuring there, and then the next booked one. I haven't gotten a booked one yet, but literally at most Fridays, you can find me at a place called Thank You Miami. It's in Little Havana in Miami. It's an excellent restaurant. The people there, the owners there are phenomenal people. It's a young couple who runs the whole thing by themselves. The guy ran a food truck and he had some phenomenal food and he saved up to get this restaurant together. And then his wife runs the bar, and they're beautiful, awesome people. And they allow us to do comedy there every Friday. So I'm usually open micing there. I got to get Manny Gravito to put me up in the show at some point, but I'm usually open micing there every week. September 24th, I believe I will be at the Dania Beach IMPROV if people want to plan that far out. And that's the next New Faces gig I'll be doing. But yeah, man, if you want to keep up with my shows, head over to Instagram and follow me over at Chris Palmitessa Comedy.
What's it like being on stage and having everybody completely engaged with you and laughing? Do you feed off that?
Feels like, and again, I want to be careful with this description, but it feels like closest thing I could ever tell you it felt like is I've taken certain pills in the past, opiate pills, and it's the closest thing to that I've ever had in my life. Feels like a drug going through your body.
So it's a natural high.
A natural high. Yeah, absolutely. It is one of the coolest feelings you will ever have in your life. And what I'd say is this, you don't have to be special to do it. Like, I think there's certain people who are good at comedy naturally, and then there's certain people who aren't. I don't think it's something you can take a class in, but I'd say most people from our community probably have that gene. And I feel like suffering is a necessary element sometimes. Mm-hmm. And so I would say if there's open mics in your area, get out there and try it, get out there and try it, because it's awesome. It's a great way of expressing yourself. It's a great way of putting yourself out there in the world. It's a great way of learning public speaking. Try it, and see where it takes you. Don't put any pressure on yourself. I don't care if I ever earn a dime from it. Really, I really don't, because I've had a great career. I've been blessed. You know what I mean? I'm blessed to be where I'm at. But I'm going to keep doing it because I enjoy it, and that's where you got to be with it.
Mm-hmm. Are you still there? Can you hear me, Chris?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah. I think I lost you there for just a quick second. I think we had a little thunder here in Houston. When the thunder roars, you got to go indoors, right?
Man.
That's about the furthest extent of my comedy. I'm not a funny guy, but you know what the cool thing is that we all have our friends. We all have been to those parties where everybody's like, "Oh my God, this guy is freaking hilarious!" And what's the first thing they say? Dude, you got to become a comedian. I have probably 100 of those friends. Yeah. You got to become a comedian. You got to become a comedian. And they all say, no, stop. And then they just continue to just make people laugh. But
Yeah.
I've known one of those guys that people always used to tell you that, and you took the step and you took the leap and you said, you know what, I'm going to follow through with it. And look, it has turned out great. So perhaps somebody listening to this program today say, you know what, I'm going to go try an open mic. I'm going to do what Chris did. I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to make myself vulnerable, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to give it a shot. I got one chance at this life, and I know I've never lived a life of coulda, woulda, shoulda, because I've always been the guy that jumps head first, and then I figure it out when I get down in there. And I think we're wired a lot the same. That's, again, it's admirable for you to go out there and really make things happen and get shit done. And again, you're helping yourself and you're helping others, and you're bringing people together. You're bringing laughter, and you're bringing some very, very good jokes. And folks, this guy's hilarious. I mean, absolutely hilarious. Go to his Instagram, Chris Palmitessa Comedy. He's got clips on there, and you will find yourself probably on the floor laughing your ass off. Yeah, excuse my French, but I want to close this out. Look, it's been a great interview, and I sincerely appreciate the time that you have shared with us here. But I've got one more thing in closing here. Now, you are a very wise man. Your experiences really tell it all. For some closing remarks here, do you have any words of folks that may be going through some trying times right now, folks that may be on the verge of giving up, folks that don't have much left to give? Do you have any words or any advice for those folks listening to kind of give them a hand up, if you will, to make them feel a little bit better about themselves and the opportunity or in the challenges that they find themselves in right now?
Yeah, I'll say two things, man. The first is this: understand that you're never alone. Right? You might think you're alone. You might think you're backed into a corner. You might think that you don't have any options or anything like that, but you're not. You're not alone because we all live in this world, and you got to reach out to people. Like, I think too many of us, we try to do it on our own, and we take our own suffering and in a lot of ways you are responsible for getting the work done, but you've got to also reach out to people. You've got to find help, right? You've got to reach out to family members. You got to reach out to friends. You've got to reach out to people. I think that somehow when guys hit 30 years old, it's like all their friends and social life goes away, and the only people they associate with are their wife and their kids. And I think that when we lose that, we lose our band of brothers. We lose like the people that we could be ourselves around. And the one thing I'll say is that the worst times in my life were the times when I was most isolated. Get out there and join a jiu-jitsu gym. Get out there and join a club. Get out there, join the Elks Club or the friggin' American Legion. It doesn't matter if you're hanging out with a bunch of 60-year-old guys drinking beers. At least you're around people. You know what I mean? Don't drown your sorrows in loneliness. It's friggin', it's not going to work. And the other thing I'll say is this: when you think you don't have any options, the only way forward is to take action, right? Because the longer you sit there and you stare at that pile of work you got to do or whatever it is, the more it's going to hurt, right? The more it's going to sting. And sometimes it's just taking the smallest step. You know what I mean? Like that night, I did an open mic. I didn't know I was going to do an open mic, but I did an open mic and just got up there on stage and told one joke, and that led to all this other stuff. You know what I mean? Yep. You got to take one small step toward where you want to go. It doesn't matter what step it is. Doesn't matter if it's a big step. Don't try to hit home run. Take that small step and get her done.
Yeah. We're looking for singles here. We're looking for 1% better. It's a motto of mine. I'm a 1% guy. Get 1% better today than what you were yesterday, and start stacking up those 1%. And pretty soon you've got a bag of 1%, and now you've got all these opportunities that are just dropping in your lap. And but it takes that first step. It takes trusting and the process, and it takes a little bit of faith. It takes faith. And it does take a certain mindset to want to get better, to want to improve yourself. I spent years self-isolating, like you said. Yes, those were the worst days of my life, but I got tired. And when I said enough is enough, I was ready to make a change. So folks that are out there that may be struggling, folks, there's not a magic pill. No one is going to save you except for you. So it does require some work. It does require, self-help. But there's so many people out there that are ready and willing to help. So, folks,
and that's the thing. That's a big point there, Tally, because friggin', if you notice in my story, every time my life improved, it was because somebody had given me a hand. Somebody had given me a hand, and I could not be where I am today without me, but also without those people, those awesome people who gave me a hand. Seriously.
Those are the mentors, the life coaches, friends, colleagues, even neighbors. Folks. It could be really anybody that loves that person that is going through some hard times. And then, I've always paid it forward. I had folks in my corner that were good cornermen that picked me up when I fell. And, I do the same thing now. I help pick others up when I get calls, emails, and texts from other people that are going through some life challenges and say, hey, Tally, what do I do? And then I'm there to help guide them. So it's definitely a circle, that's good, for men, for like-minded men to get together, and, iron sharpens iron. And, that's what folks need to understand too. So anyways, Chris, thank you so much for joining us today. You are a breath of fresh air, and you're a wealth of knowledge. And I know somebody out there that is going to listen to this today that is going to do something that will begin to change their life through listening through just a few minutes of your struggles and how you've overcome those challenges. We sincerely appreciate you, your sacrifice, and your service to this great nation, as well as a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. For Tuesdays with Tally, this is Brian Tally. Semper Fi, and God bless.